speak to you today. I am, by choice, an animal minister. That means that I serve animals, I speak for animals, I help people understand their animals, I bless animals, I do naming ceremonies for you. But my purpose is in what I do to show everybody that I speak to or I work with that God is alive and well. He has everything under control. We live in a time we may not know that. We can learn a lot from animals. They do not lay awake at night worrying about what's going on in the world. They're at peace. Today is a day which the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it and enjoy every moment of it, because every second of life is a gift from the Creator God, who I know as a friend. I have felt His presence in my life. When I was 6 years old, I looked into my dog's eyes. Her name was Queen Elizabeth. I called her Liz. And I went running into the house because I made a marvelous discovery, and I said, "Mom, Liz has a soul." I thought it was amazing. My mom said, "Of course." And she explained to me that God is in everything. And I was fortunate to be raised by parents who taught me to love God, the Lord, to live as good a life as I could, to honor animals and people. And before I go any further, I want to thank Reverend Jewel so much for coming today. Cloyce and Robin, thank you. And I know many others here, and thank you. I'm reminded, before I really get started, of a story I heard about two bears. And they were up in the mountains up by Julian. This is some time back. And there was a Czechoslovakian and an American walking down the road together. And they had been warned that these two bears were aggressive. And the game wardens had warned them, but still they went walking out in a dangerous area. And sure enough, they were killed. And so I happened to be there, and we went looking for this Czechoslovakian and this American. And we found their clothes, and we realized that the worst had happened. And the warden went over, and to decide what had really happened, he opened up the stomach of one of the bears, and sure enough, the American was in there. But he opened up the stomach of the male, and he looked inside of him, and he said, "This is horrible. This is the worst thing that can happen." And I said, "What's the matter? It's bad enough." He said, "Yeah, but the check's in the mail." It's an animal joke. Anyway, since I was 6 years old, I knew that I wanted to be a minister. I knew that animals had a soul. And I've run into problems with that all my life, because there are many people who do not believe that an animal has a soul. Let me ask you a question. If God made everything there is in this world out of Himself, because we know He had nothing else to work with, if He did that, how can an animal not have a soul? And I will tell you something else. I have seen the souls of animals. I've seen the soul of a dog named Beauregard, who has been my dog as far back as we both go, through the millennia. Beauregard is my friend. He's the perfect dog. And because of Beauregard, I stand where I do today, because he started the fulfillment of my dreams. 2 days after my birthday, a couple of years ago, I received my ordination as a minister. The amazing thing is, I'd worked all my life and something kept blocking it, and it came to me out of the blue in a very easy and wonderful way. And I realized nothing in my life changed except that somebody said I was a minister. I always was. As a boy, my mom made me a robe. And I was called a dog minister. Today they call me a dog whisperer, and you know what that is. But as a boy, kids would come to me when their animals would die, and they would ask me to do a service for them. And I would put on this robe, which my mom had made for me out of velvet, so carefully and lovingly. And in this robe, I would perform a service for the kids' dogs. And one day a minister or a preacher who lived across the street near his church told me he did not want his son to hang around with me because I was going to burn in hell. That's amazing. It doesn't exist, but I was going to burn in hell. People at many times have told me what I believe is impossible. Let me assure you of something. I have not only seen the souls of animals, I have actually put my hands on them and felt them. How are you doing? Cute. I have actually placed my hands on a dog and felt their soul. And I've seen their soul. Let me tell you what a dog's soul looked like. It looks exactly like he does in life. The same markings, the same shape, except they're translucent. You can see kind of through them. But their soul is there. It may fill a whole room, it may fill a small space, but their soul is there. They have a connection to us. And to me, they have been a source that proved to me several things. One of them is that if they're made by the same God that I'm made by, we have a connection, a close connection. The other one is, and I think this is really cool, if a dog has an eternal soul connected to the God who created everything there is, guess what? We do too. We live forever. There are people that tell you that, and they don't know whether they believe it or not, but somebody told them, and when they were ordained, that was part of what they were ordained for, but they don't know it. I know it. I spoke at a funeral, gosh, it was last year, I suppose, and one of the things that I pointed out, and I hoped powerfully, was that this person had simply left their body. But they went on. And I have had an experience with so many animals and dogs. There was 2 golden retrievers that I worked with. I was there when one was put to sleep. I was invited to do that. I saw the animal's soul leave her body and walk away. And later I blessed the grave and we buried her, and she was still there, looking after her mistress, who had lost her husband some months before. When I first learned to access a dog's soul, I had read about it in one of the courses I took, and I've taken many. I'm a certified animal communicator, trained by one of the best in America. I'm a certified canine massage therapist. I'm an ordained minister. And at 73 years old, I have everything I ever wanted in life, including the most wonderful woman you could ever be married to, and a son that I'm so honored to call mine. And if I ever work with your animals, and you can call me if one of your animals passes away, and I'm a counselor. Basically what I do is listen. Because somebody always tells you, hey, get another dog. Would you get another wife the next day? Would you get another son or daughter? No. Few things in the world are as close to us and mean as much to us and touch us as much as the soul of the animals that we love. The dog is the only creature in the world that chose to be near us. they chose to be our friend. The horse and the others we tamed, and we used them. We had them in mines. They never saw the light of day. We would not be where we are today without animals. And when God made them, and I think this is really cool, God made this world for us. Every grain of sand, every rock, every tree, every stream, every lake, every ocean, every drop of rain, and everything that walks, crawls, or flies, he made for us. And as he went through this progression of creating all that there is, every time he did, he said, this is good. And when he made animals, he gave us dominion over them. If you don't know what dominion means, it means that we have control, that we can use them for our purposes. That does not mean that we can abuse them. It does not mean that we should hurt them. It means that we should take care of them and work together with them. I'm not a member of PETA. I have no problem with hunters. I used to hunt myself, and I'm a fisherman. But we need to be aware. When we eat a steak, it's so simple. Now you go to the store and there's a steak. Nobody knows where they come from. A few days ago, that steak was walking around. A few days ago, that chicken was walking around and clucking, and the rooster was crowing, the fish was swimming in the sea. And I think hunters are wonderful people, because without them, so much of the land that animals are on today was purchased by hunters and their license and various things. Without them, it might be a different world for the animals. But it does bother me when somebody goes down and they grab the horns of a great elk or something and say, wow, isn't that gorgeous? Hell yes, it would look good when it was alive. We need to have feeling for these creatures which God made for us. And when you go home today, look at the mountains and the sky. Tonight, look at the stars. Look at the animals that you see and the ones you know that exist. And be aware that when God made all of this, he said, he made it for us. Everything in this world was made by the Creator God for our comfort and joy and happiness. But he expected us to take care of it like you would your home or your car or your shirt or whatever. He expects us to take care of it. But the fact is, this God that I know, I call him Father. When I talk to him as a friend. Now maybe you don't. And there are places you're not supposed to say that because it doesn't quite fit in. But I have felt God's presence in my life many times. And I can picture God walking up to us and holding out his hands. And he said, everything that is here, I give to you free. Take care of it. Think what this world would be like if there were no singing birds, if there were no trees, no babbling brooks, no fish, if there was no howl of the wolf or bark of a dog. It would be a very empty world. And we are so blessed. And I happen to like bloodhounds. Don't get one. But a dog has an intelligence level close to a 3-year-old child. So you say, well, what's the big deal about that? A 3-year-old child. He understands about 1,100 words. You can carry on a conversation. They were given intelligence. They have the ability to love. When an elephant dies, the other elephants stay there and they mourn. And every time they go by on that trek that they make, I think twice a year, They stop and they mourn this elephant they lost. Geese mate for life. Wolves mate for life. Somebody asked me one day, he said, would you marry my dogs? I said, no. That's for people. But the fact is, wolves mate for life. They don't need to be married. Somebody asked me I get some amazing questions. One of them was, would I baptize their dogs? And the answer is no, I wouldn't, and I'll tell you why. Dogs and animals are perfect as they're made. Dogs do not sin. Wolves don't sin. We say, oh, it's horrible what the wolves do. Have you ever seen them kill an elk? Yes, I've seen that. It seems brutal. But it doesn't compare to the way they harvest a cow before they cut it up and wrap it in cellophane. It's the way of the world. It's the way it works. I don't know why God did everything the way he did it. I really never asked him. But I figure he had a plan. I figure he's smarter than I am. But he made this world. Every single thing in it. And he said, and I give it to you. Everything you want right now. That's one thing that we do believe. When you say, this is mine, thank you, God, we hold it in our hands. I've just been through a really difficult bout with an infection because some years ago I was diagnosed with cancer, which I didn't have, and they did radiation seeding, which I shouldn't have done, and they migrated and they burned everything in my body, and so I have had some problems with pain. I've had I think 20 operations or something, and I've got infections, and all of a sudden I found one. No thing could kill it. And so they did all these different things. They gave me these different meds, and none of them worked. And I'm not saying I don't believe in doctors, because boy, I went for they put a little thing in my arm called a PICC line, you may know. I went to every session that I was supposed to have. Well, what I did, at one point, I went out and I walked out in the desert, and I said, God, I believe in you. I'm one of your ministers. I know you. I'm your son. I'm going to keep taking these medications, but I'm asking you to make me well. And after about 20 different attempts or so, guess what? I'm well. Was it the meds? Probably they had something to do with it, but I'd taken those same ones 3 times before. And I think God just said, yes, John, that's what you want? I give it to you right now. Two, 3 years ago, we went to the Arizona State Fair in Phoenix. And I saw this thing as we walked in. It was like one of those wire fences, you know, the cyclone type fence. That's what we called them in Texas when I was a boy. But you see them around here all the time. They stretched out. And I realized there was a sign or something that told me there were wolves there. And I thought, hey, this is so cool. And you know what I thought? I'm an animal communicator. I'm an animal minister. I'm going to talk to those wolves. And so we sat and they brought them out. And these wolves had been abused and captivated to the point they had lost all of their wolfness. They had lost their pride in who they were. They had lost everything that made them these great animals that we admire. Everything. And I asked, who's Alpha? I did that because I was trained by the man who trained me, one of the best in America. And I said, who's Alpha? And a wolf stepped forward. And I asked him a stupid question. I said, how's your life going? I was really brilliant for an animal communicator. I should have been able to figure that out. It wasn't worth a damn. Their life was a mess. How would you feel? They were inside of a trailer all day and all night, and then they would bring them out into this yard that was surrounded by a fence. And she had a little thing of meat here, and you can't understand, you cannot train a wolf to do what a dog does. A wolf is not a dog. That 1/10 of 1% or whatever it is makes all the difference in the world. All the difference. They're not a dog. When you breed a wolf with a dog, what you get is a Frankenstein animal, because it's not a dog and it ain't a wolf and it doesn't know what it is. And then they keep them because they had some of the wolf dogs and they had wolves. And I'm sitting there all puffed up. I'm an animal communicator and an animal minister, and I'm going to learn something right now, and I did. Because what I got was the saddest, the most empty feeling that you can imagine, and that's what they sent me. Because what she would do, I think she had one where it would sit on a box, and she'd toss it a piece of steak. A couple of others would sit, and that was pretty much it. Wasn't like a circus event, and she'd throw them a chunk of meat every once in a while. These animals that once ruled the wild for hundreds of thousands of years are not only endangered, they don't know what they are. They've lost contact with the Creator that made them, and believe me, animals know the Creator. One of the differences between the animals and us, and this is very, very cool. When we come here, I don't know why, but we all know this, our memory is erased. Guess what? Theirs isn't. They remember where they came from. They remember what they are. And they remember this great Creator God that made them out of His own stuff, His own God stuff. And they remember what they were made to do, which was to be wolves. Not pets, not animals that are told you have to live inside this park. You gotta understand, the wolf doesn't know what the park is. You know, a sheep, that's food to a wolf. They don't know the difference. And I got the saddest, most empty feeling I've ever had in my life. And I realized at that moment, this gift that I have is a gift to serve God, to help people understand God, to help people understand animals and what they are about. We are so blessed to have these creatures. We take them for granted. We don't honor them. We kill them as if we would an ear of corn. And like I said, I do not have anything against hunters. A lot of them are wonderful people. And I used to be one. The only reason I quit, one day I realized I don't have to kill that animal. I don't need it to eat. If I lived in Alaska, I might need to kill it. I've been on fishing boats in San Diego, and I'm not bragging. Yeah, I am. I am an extremely good saltwater fisherman. I caught a 60-pound big eye tuna one time on 10-pound test line. If you don't know what that's like, it's like tying a rope onto a car and trying to pull it backwards. It took me an hour. And I have seen them take, I've seen people with 15 tuna or yellowtail or other fish stuffed in these bags, and the fish are suffocating. And they don't eat them. It's simply the sport of landing it. Okay. So my deal is I turn them loose. That makes a skipper on a party boat really unhappy. But I hope if I get nothing else across today, animals are a connection to God, to our Creator, every bit as important as the one that you and I have. And someone asked me one day, they said, "Can you teach me to talk to my dog?" We all do that anyway. It's no big deal to talk to a dog. Not at all. But I'll tell you what's tough. Hearing them and understanding them. And that's a gift that I was given. And I'm so pleased and happy with it. And I try with everything I have, with everything I have, to honor that gift. Because if I can help people to see through that dog that sleeps on their couch, or some cases on their bed, or that they trip over at night on the floor when they get up, this dog that idolizes them, this cat that purrs, whatever the pet and the animal, if I can help them to see and understand that, then I can help them to see and understand God. And I hope someday we'll have an event here in which I will bless animals. And I'll name them for you. If you have a puppy, I'll do this anytime. I do accept donations because it helps pay for my work. But if I can show that, and if in doing that people can feel a connection to God, then we've got it licked, because if we can all understand God, His great love for us, His desire for our happiness, His willingness to say, "I give it to you right now, whatever you want. You want to be rich? You can do that. You want to be a great speaker that works with dogs? You can do that." And I would show you, if the animals were here, I would show you something I think is absolutely amazing. I would have you take your hands and I would have you lower them over your dog. And at some point, if you do it right, you will feel a presence push back against your hands. And you know that, don't you, Cat? Yeah. We're in the same league, right? Yeah. I feel it when I do energy work and massage a dog. And I have shown countless people how to do it. Sometimes children are the easiest to do it with, because for some reason, as we grow up, we lose contact with everything, you know. And so children, sometimes it's easier. But anybody can do it. You can go home today when your dog is calm. No TV, no loud music. You're petting your dog. Take your hands and kneeling next to him, bring your hands down. And I will bet that you will feel something pushing back. And that is the dog's soul. And what the soul does is an amazing thing, because when an animal dies, when we die, some people call it an energy force, but it's a soul. It's a connection to God. It's that part of God that lives in our heart that He put there. It's why we have compassion. It's why we love. It's why we get excited about things. It's why I love what I'm doing right now. And whether it's 10 people or 50 or 400, and I've talked to 400 people in my life several times, it's all the same to me. And so my message today, one other thing I wanted to mention, when the Lord was born, it's kind of amazing to me that the Son of God was born in a stable with animals. Kings came to visit him and they gave him great gifts, but he was born with animals. And all the scriptures say is, we have dominion. But I think that says something. On Palm Sunday, he rode into town on a donkey. He could have ridden in on a chariot, but he chose a donkey. Because I believe the Lord has a connection to animals like I do. I believe that's where it comes from. My connection comes from God. And so does yours. The Native Americans, and I have Native American blood in my body, I believe that's where this gift comes from. They refer to this Creator God as Father of the world. And if I were doing a blessing today, I would open it, Almighty God of the North, Almighty God of the East and of the South and of the West. We invite you to come and bless these animals with us. And that's how I would open it. And he always comes. I thank you so very much for inviting me today. I have enjoyed it. You're a wonderful group of people. There is a presence here, and I'm honored. I thank you. My hope is, I ask that God that created all things bless you. And Father of the world, I ask you to bless the animals of the world and those that live in our homes. I offer this in the name of the Creator God. And I thank each of you for being here today, for letting me open my heart to you, because there are people who will laugh at what I tell them. But I assure you what I told you is the absolute truth. And I swear that to you in the name of the God who created all there is and said to each of us, I give it all to you right now. So whatever really matters to you today, if you have the faith to receive it, I promise you have it. And I know that. It took me 70 years to become an ordained minister. And when it came to me, it was like so simple. It was a gift. And that is my message today. And our connection to each other is the connection that we have with animals and with God, because that God lives in every single one of us. God bless you and thank you.
Thank you, John. Ooh. Stand back a little bit. When you were talking about hunting, I was reminded of a story I'm going to share with you just a second here. In a grocery store, a guy was talking about he had been hunting and he got an elk, and his son got an elk. They were up in Montana or Wyoming or someplace, and they were picking it up because it was being butchered, and the woman got just indignant, and she said, I don't know why they don't just buy their meat from the store like everybody else does. They don't have to go kill animals for it. So, how should I have responded to that? Okay, let's all settle down and get ready for meditation. Now, Dave, you want to get the lights, please? Thank you. Just take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Sit back and relax. Feel those muscles give way to relaxation, to a soothing smoothness that flows throughout your body, relaxing. Your mind begins to slow down, relaxing. You can now let go of everything and enter into the contemplation of peace, good, beauty, and truth. We are conscious that God is all there is. There is nothing else. And God is all love. I know that love guides, directs, maintains, and sustains me. I am a center of my divine life. This is perfect peace. This is complete happiness and absolute wholeness. This perfection is projecting into every cell of my being. And just relax. Feel those cells open up as God and love seep in through your body, filling, comforting, strengthening. Whatever is for my benefit is already provided. It is all one presence, all good, all substance, all supply, all activity, all opportunity for full self-expression is here now. I accept it. I know it. And so it is.